Okay.
All right, cool.
All
Recording.
right.
All right. All right.
There it is.
Okay. Hey everyone, my name is Monica.
I'm Bill.
And we're from geeksagogo.com. And today we have our special guest. We have Common Lands or CLAM. Is that correct? Common Lands
Associated Media.
Yeah, there you go. We have Corey Burns, Miranda Leeson, and Aaron. What was your
Silverberg.
last name?
Aaron Silverberg.
It's not on screen.
It's not on the screen. I'm sorry.
Don't worry.
We are trying to make technology work. We're doing a Zoom call today with these amazing folks. And we are here to discuss about Feldbar Shoppe of Curiosities and Occult for 5th edition because they are currently having a Kickstarter on it. So yeah, welcome everyone. Let's try to get to know the team. Yep. Let's get to know the team a little bit here. Who would like to start?
Corey, you're our CEO, so you should start.
Sure. I am a forever DM. Bill, I know you know how that feels. And, you know, from my years behind the screen, I've noticed that there's a lot of people who feel intimidated about playing Dungeons and Dragons, specifically running it. And, you know, I really want to alleviate some of that stress. So that's a big part of what we try to do. But also, I just kind of want to give back to a community that's given me so much. So Common Lands Associated Media isn't just about writing modules. We write music that's related to the stories that we tell. We create all kinds of, you know, artistic mediums like paintings and buttons and pictures and just all kinds of things that are related to Dungeons and Dragons. We produce for anyone who is interested in what we're selling.
Awesome.
All right. Aaron, why don't you tell us?
Yeah, I'll go next. So I'm Aaron Silverberg. I'm the Chief Operating Officer of Common Lands Associated Media. I pretty much, I guess, I only started playing Dungeons and Dragons a few years ago. When I was younger, I didn't really even think that was something like that I was ever going to be doing. But after playing it a few times, I thought it was pretty cool. But what really kind of got me into it was when Corey kind of strong-armed me into playing a one-shot at his table. And it was awesome. I mean, you know, everybody loves everybody loves fantasy stuff. And like Game of Thrones had like not yet had that horrible season. So I come into his house and I'm just like, wow, this whole elaborate Common Lands world that I see has been created over like a decade and a half, and all of the supplemental material he took me to go home and like digest so that I could come prepared. All of that stuff was like a nice kind of tie-in that after playing for a year and a half of Feldbars, I was totally down when he's like, guys, I'm publishing this book, you know, I'm just trying to figure out how I'm going to go about this. And I'm like, I'm down to like launch a company because this can be bigger than just your book, you know, and that can be like our marquee thing to launch us. So that's kind of my perspective.
Amazing.
Yeah, it all just started with, hey, I just want to write a book. And then it's kind of snowballed. And then we found Miranda.
Yes, I'm Miranda. I live in Oregon, so it's all long distance, but I didn't meet you guys until like mid to early November. So pretty fresh. Yes. And I've only been playing D&D since quarantine started.
Wow.
So new to that as well, but I kind of fallen into the rabbit hole, so to speak, because that's kind of like all I do now is play D&D.
Which
I
can't really complain, right?
Yeah, it's great.
Do you play digitally only, or if you played with family or some other friends?
Yeah,
maybe?
I play mostly with family, actually. We have a game that's half. Okay. It started with just my siblings, but then we've slowly added friends to it, and so it's half in person and half digital because I live with some of my siblings.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I wish my brothers were into D&D. Yeah, none of them. I have 2 of them. They don't really play. Oh, well.
I have one, but he lives halfway across the country in Virginia. He was supposed to be here this week, and that's all we were going to do this week is play D&D with my wife. And he decided wasn't up for the drive, so I'm not gonna give him a hard time about it. But if he does watch this,
Not here anyway.
bring you both. Yeah.
That's funny. All right. Questions. Get
Okay,
started?
let's get started with the questions. Okay, so Feldbar's Shop of Curiosities and Occult for 5th Ed. You kind of give us a little bit of preview on that, Corey, right? So you said you kind of just like came up
Yep.
with this stories and had it just ready to go, and Aaron has a little bit of taste of what's in it and got interested in building the company. Now, tell us a little bit of history with everything, because I know you guys have had the GoFundMe happen.
Yeah. So let's give you a project overview for sure. So it all started with playing D&D. I played from Advanced Dungeons and Dragons 2nd edition all the way up to 5th edition. I've played many other tabletop RPGs. One of my biggest gripes about earlier D&D, especially pre-5th edition, has been that their modules are incredibly intimidating and difficult to follow. They're very convoluted. And I don't know what I can keep, what I can throw away, and where I can improvise, and where I have to be rigid with the story. And I said to myself, this is why I veer away from modules. And even in 5th edition, I'm starting to see, you know, if you look at their earlier campaign modules like Horde of the Dragon Queen, or especially Elemental Evil, which is notoriously evil to run, it's not very fun. You know, you look at that material and it's difficult to navigate. And I said, I hate that. I love that the players have this experience that's super streamlined, but for the dungeon master, for the person running the story, there's no streamlined, you know, way for them to do that makes their life a little easier too, other than the raw mechanics of the game being sort of streamlined. So that's what I set out to do. So I wrote this book. I have a model for how I write my stories. I've sort of embellished it and changed it around and made it what it is. It's featured on our Kickstarter. I wrote this campaign. I played it for over 2 years with 3 different playtest groups. So this module, it has 15 chapters in it. Each chapter approximately 3 to 4 hours, depending on how the party decides to interact. And you know, I've put it. Yeah, it could be more, it could be less. It just depends, you know, any given day, what the group's kind of, if they're feeling squirrely and they want to, you know, just mess with the fish market, man. You know how it goes. Like, okay, well, I guess that's the game today.
I know.
But so I wrote this book. While I was writing out my campaign chapters each week on a Google Doc, and then I said, you know what, I'm just going to compile all this, put it in a book, and it's sort of kept growing and growing into let's make this a more legitimate product. And so that's when we decided in February, okay, well, let's see if any of our, you know, friends and family want to help support this endeavor. And we've raised over $3,000 with GoFundMe to start the project off. We hired a friend, one of my playtesters, Ryan Karadag, his wife, Lily, she did all of the character art for us. And it has a very I wanted a very watercolor-esque style, something very light and not traditional, because I think when you see D&D products, it all kind of homogenizes into one thing. And I wanted something that kind of stands out. And Aaron and I and a couple of friends, my friend Chris and my friend Kevin, we've spent hundreds of hours editing this module. And then COVID hit, and we were gonna do all of this Kickstarter stuff in August. All of this stuff was ready to go. And I think it's kind of a blessing, because it forced us to sort of slow down. We met the lovely Miranda, who really improved our cover art. We've met some other people who have given us some great advice for how to proceed with the project. And we said, you know what, let's launch in December. So Aaron and I put together a plan for our Kickstarter. We said we don't want to just sell the book. We are an associated media company. So we want to have buttons and stickers and all those kinds of fun things. I'm working on a painting right now that's it's like 22 by 22 that's almost done, that we're putting on our Kickstarter as well for anybody who you know wants to charitably donate to our cause. But the project's coming along. We're at 57%. We have how many days left, Aaron? Do you know?
So there's 14 days left. And then just one other thing. So, you know, beyond Feldbar's, you know, because we're really rounding out, you know, a mission accomplished on this project that's gone on for really years. And so, as we kind of finish this project and make it available, we're, in the midst of building out our website. And, aside from modules, beyond this, we're going to have a bargain bin with basically just cheap products, whether they're monsters or stat blocks or just, material. There will be a free content page. Corey literally just finalized kind of a giveaway one shot that's really, really cool. I'm sure he'll go on to in more length on his own. That's going to be really cool that we can are just going to launch on our website's free content area. And we have some other things that are all going to be coming soon, but obviously in the adolescence of our launch, we still have a few more months of development to really build out what we want to accomplish.
Yeah, and I just want to add on to that this one shot that I've created, I'm more than happy to give to you guys if you want to help promote it. It shows you it's kind of a taste for Feldbars. The one shot story, this is a major spoiler for it, but it explains the origins of how oozes are made. So there's kind of a plot twist at the end. So if anybody wants a good kind of M. Night Shyamalan kind of thing going on, there's a cool little twist at the end. But yeah, it's a very simple one shot. It kind of gives you a taste for how the game has been designed. Feldbar Shop has been designed to make your life a little easier. And I'd also, if it's okay with you guys, I would love to talk about what differentiates our product from the mainstream products.
Oh, absolutely.
If that's okay with you guys.
Awesome, yeah.
So, we sat down, Aaron and I, and talked about it. We don't want to sacrifice aesthetics for functionality. I mean, let's be honest. When you get a D&D book and you put them in your bookshelves, you know what I mean? And I'm guilty of this too. I mean, I have my shelf fodder that looks wonderful because I own like 7 books. But, at the end of the day, though, when you're running the campaign, you want it to be functional too. So we tried to make it more functional than I would say aesthetic. And that's not to say that it's not a beautiful book, but at the end of the day, you're telling a story, and where the story really lies isn't on your bookshelf; it's in your head. And that's one of the key things that we focused on, is ways for you as a storyteller to get that image, not just from the book, but into the minds of the people at your table. And to help rookie GMs, we've color coded everything. And this is a teaching strategy that we use, and not necessarily with the color coding, but like, just the differentiation method of it, which is, when you look at a Dungeons and Dragons module, it can be difficult to find out where the flavor text is. Well, that's not a problem in Feldbars. It's all green. You want to know what to say. If you don't want to improvise, you don't have to improvise. It's written out. If you want to improvise, you can. Another thing that we do that I think is really, really special about our book is, before you even start running the game, there's a section that just says, hey, read these like 5 pages. This is what the story is. And there's another section that tells you exactly which NPCs are in which chapters. So you can just go, okay, Burns wrote this book. I want to do things my way. And you can look at that chapter and you can say, okay, well, Bill is going to show up. Bill's actually a character in the book, Bill. Bill's going to show up in chapters 4, 8, and 10. All right. And so I know I need Bill for chapter 10. And so you don't see that kind of stuff in D&D modules. So it's like, here's what the story is. Here's where the NPCs are going to be. Here's how everything's color coded so you can find it super easily. And even when you start a new chapter, there's a little like Netflix style stinger that kind of gives you the up of what's going on. It's like, previously, this is what happened. This is where the story's going. Here's some background information for your players. So that when you want to improvise, it's set up for you to be able to do that. It's like, if you want the cruise control off, turn it off. Read the text, do what you want to do. But we really wanted to make it so that you don't have to do a lot of page turning too. How it is when you're running the game and you got stacks of books this high. Inside of our book, it's supposed to be written in. I think of the highlights magazines I used to read at the dentist's office, and it's like, our book has that little table for initiative. So you write it, there's an encounter, There's a section for DM to write notes, and then there's a table that says initiative, so that I'm not switching between books. I'm right here. I literally write everything in my book. I write my notes. Okay, well, he has, he's stunned, so I'll write that in the notes section. So every single encounter is not only color coded, but there's initiative trackers, there's GM notes. It's supposed to be a one-stop shop.
Amazing.
Like that, yeah.
So you talked a little bit about the artwork. I want to shift into Miranda's line of work here. You have recently mentioned that you're fairly new to D&D, but sometimes being kind of like an outsider, not really outsider, but you know what I mean, like kind of just like outside looking in into being new in the world of D&D. What is like your kind of like observation, and what were you able to bring into the table that's new for Feldbar's Shoppe of Curiosities that we haven't found on D&D books?
Well, I think I haven't been quite as integrated into the project yet, but so far all I've done is the cover art, working on it. But I think for me, what really drew me to it was how it's about whimsy and fun. Like, it's got a story that has all the peaks and stuff, and it's dark, but it is mostly about like highlighting the joy of it and the joy of what magic is. And I don't think that's in a lot of D&D stuff, because magic is kind of darker in most D&D modules, from what I've experienced so far.
What is your inspiration with creating the cover? Like, what type of feels were you kind of like channeling through your artwork for the cover?
Yeah, I looked at a lot of Studio Ghibli art when I was working on this one.
Love.
Yep. So it was really fun to do that, and also just like galaxy stuff. I just wanted you to look at it, like glance at it, and know, be like, oh, that is a magical place. That is not like a regular, like, Earth style realm. That is weird.
I am like,
I just want to brag about it, Miranda. She made these wonderful poster boards for us that she collected all these images to show us. Like, hey, this is kind of the vibe I'm going for. It was such a refreshing experience too, just to see her professionalism and like how she really captured all of these elements into one sort of poster board for us for different aspects of the cover art.
Yeah, even though
images are so important, and just like having all the same images in everyone's head when we start a project is just so cool to be all on the same page like that.
that's awesome.
yeah, even though Miranda, just kind of joined us and was only on in the last few months, I think it was really, really important to include her because, we were, when we first started, I think we were maybe a little less practiced or knew what we were doing in terms of finding, a strong artist. And, our first best artist that we found was a friend of a friend. And so we definitely did a lot more homework and went and whittled it down, and we're like, all right, this is the kind of the person that we want to really develop a kind of long-term relationship with, doing multiple projects into the future. So yeah, we're just, again, really excited to have you.
Hey, and I'm excited what else we will find in terms of the artwork, because now that she mentioned Ghibli, like maybe down the road we'll find a D&D Ghibli inspired like campaign to play. That'll be really cool.
Yeah.
One other thing that I just like about this Feldbar's module that I loved is, and I mean, lots of people are into space, and I feel like there's like worlds and stuff and realms, but you don't have like the kind of like cosmic, almost, you know what I mean, like the spacey stuff to like you do in like alternate, like you can run D&D, however, there's a million settings for it, but like, typical like medieval style, when you bring that cosmic piece into it, that's kind of unique because like historically that cosmic revelation was happening like Renaissance time, but D&D typically happens pre-Renaissance time. So it was just like all of this stuff that's like, oh, there's this component at all. Every single person, when you're role playing that, is like, you're one of the only people in the world to even know about like how profound the universe is. So I just thought that was such a unique thing that I never got in any other campaign.
Yeah, the cosmos, as it's known in our setting, is one of the things I found very convoluted about Dungeons and Dragons is their planes, the way their planes work. And so what I decided was, what if instead of planes, they were just part of the solar system of this world? Like, these planets all revolve around the sun, and there's the elemental plane, but it's not actually an elemental plane. That's sort of a tale that's told. It's another planet, and there's a way to get there through magic. And it happens to be very elementally focused. And so it does have Feldbar's does have a little bit of that sci-fi component to it, where, it puts a twist on the traditional planar, settings that D&D's created.
Gotcha. Did you take any inspiration from like Spelljammer, Starfinder, or anything like that?
No, I mean, I'm always taking stuff from Saga Edition. I love Star Wars Saga Edition, and that, after Mandalorian has basically revitalized my love for Star Wars.
I hear that.
I definitely will be doing some more of that in the future. But you know what, man? I looked at, okay, so 5th edition came out 2014. I remember I was at Gen Con. I bought a book for everybody that plays in my game. I go, early Christmas present, we're playing this, let's go. And I sat in the hotel, I read the book, and I thought, holy cow, you know what this is? I told my wife, I go, this is D&D's greatest hits. That's what this book is. It's D&D's greatest hits. And I said, why stop there? Let's start adding in the greatest hits from all these other modules that we've played. So speaking of Star Wars, they have a destiny mechanic that I just personally as a GM always try to implement. It's, when you create your character, what is your character's destiny? Give your character a purpose, And then, the skill challenges from 4E, which I thought were absolutely wonderful, and the minion mechanics from 4E that we've included, where, when you're fighting a bad guy and they have minions, the minions have all the statistics of a normal level whatever character, but they have 1 hit point. So you can just like crunch through them. You feel awesome because you're like plowing through all these bad guys, but they're formidable still. So I mean, I draw from that when we put this book together. I drew from not just the greatest hits of D&D, but the greatest hits of tabletop role playing.
Gotcha.
Awesome. So just a question to ask as well, like down the road, I've never GM before, but down the road I am interested in doing that. Now, what will be a selling point to someone who's a beginner GM to get a copy of Feldbar's?
Well, for me personally, I remember the first time I ever ran. I ran it for my class, but I don't really count that for adults. Was I like outlined it, and I kind of like had this way that was like, all right, I'm not like writing a book here. I just need notes so that I know what I'm doing, and that's not all that different from how Corey kept it. Obviously, he we published it into a book, so it's nice and tight, but it's also like many of the pages are noted outline. You know what I mean? Where it's just like, oh, you're literally following this. I like to read, but I also sometimes, like most people, stare at a page and it's like, okay, I just did a page and a half. This isn't fun anymore. You know what I mean? And Corey's book is not like that. There's pages where it's like you have complete pages of text. You have GM notes and the flavor text, but there's a lot of just, oh, this makes real quick sense. Here's the information you need to know. This initiative page might only have, 40 words on it, but it tells you all of the information you need to know. That's huge. And then again, we have these gray GM notes that just kind of guide you. They tell you, you can do this, you don't have to do this. So it's just really, really, really well thought out. I think specifically for the concern that you're bringing up.
I would add too, one of the elevator pitches I gave to Aaron before I really thought about taking this book a little more public was, I sat there and I said, okay, I want to take Dungeons and Dragons, and I view it, and I'm going to use a metaphor, I view it as the 80s hair metal of the Dungeons and Dragons world, and I just want to Kurt Cobain this thing. I want to do to Dungeons and Dragons what Kurt Cobain did to 80s metal, where, is it simpler? Yes. Is it elegant? Yes. Do people love it? Did it usher in a new era? Yes. That's what I want to do for Dungeons and Dragons. I think that they get so caught up in their aesthetics and sort of the, what would you say, just I'm trying to think of a word that's appropriate. They just like the ego stroking. The book is ego stroking. You read it and you look at it and you're like, okay, yes, you're smarter than me. You wrote this. Great. Good job, dude. I don't want to read your wall of text. And I think that's how 80s music used to be. It's like, okay, yeah, you can play fast. Some of your music is pretty good. Okay. And then that's kind of the elevator pitch for what we were trying to do when this module was put out.
Gotcha.
Let's make people's lives easier. Let's have people tell stories.
Gotcha. So speaking of which, yeah, I do a lot of DMing. I've written some articles about this for the website, where like I don't have time to prepare. I work in IT by day. I'm on call sometimes. I just want to play. It sounds like your book will be really helpful. I've been doing that. I've been doing this for a while, where I'll pick a monster, come up with an encounter, put my players up against it, or I'll go to like a book with like a bunch of short modules, short adventures, rather than like a whole campaign or something like that. I'll draw from that sort of thing, like Prepared from Cobalt Press, if you're familiar with their work, or Adventure.
I love Cobalt Press.
They're great, yeah.
Toma Beast 2 just came out. Don't plug them. I love it.
Oh, I haven't bought that one yet. All right. But anyway, pick a monster, have them fight it. I do that. If I picked up your book, do you recommend me running the whole campaign? Can I pick and choose parts of it? How do you make it easy to work into my game, if so?
Well, I got a couple of things to. First of all, there are side quests in that book that are clearly denoted, so that if you want to run a one-shot within the story setting, there's a couple of them in there. I think there's 2. So there's that option. The other thing is we wanted to make everything as simple for you as possible, so that you don't have to really do a lot of prep. I mean, even how it is, Bill. It's like you run a game and you don't want to do a lot of prep, and even when you don't want to do a lot of prep, you're still doing a lot of prep. It's like,
yep.
Okay, am I going to draw? I mean, drawing a battle map alone, it's a nightmare.
Yeah.
And so, and let's talk about that for just a moment. The book, I purposefully hand drew the battle maps in there because, and it sucks because on the one hand, it's like, oh, I want to have this beautiful art in my book, and I could hire someone and they could put the most beautiful battle maps ever in this book, which is what every Dungeons and Dragons module does. Or I can draw them myself so that when you look at it, you have a feeling of self-efficacy. You say, I could probably draw that better than him. And so, when you look at our battle maps, even just to make your life easier, you should be able to look at our battle maps and say, I can recreate this. They've been very 2-minute tabletop inspired. So I can't stress enough how much I love 2-minute tabletop. But yeah, I mean, everything is designed to make it easy for you so that you're having as simple of an experience as a game master as you would as a dungeon master. Now, to shamelessly plug my next book, what I'm doing is something original, and this is something original in our story that I really want to focus on. I've created something. This is something that I do. I've never seen anybody do this before, and I'm not trying to toot my own horn here, but I'm going to toot my own horn here. I was very inspired by Marvel Comics. Now, in Marvel Comics, I know you guys are big comic readers like me. They'll create an event. Let's say it's Secret Wars. And in Secret Wars is happening, there's the main Secret Wars storyline. And then all of the comics will be like, well, what's happening with Spider-Man in Secret Wars or Miss Marvel in Secret Wars? And so what I wanted to do was, in my next book, I'm writing a campaign module that's like, okay, here's the story about the Immortal Gate. All right. And it's just a series of 2-shots, 1-shots, so that, if you want to just play it with your friends, this one mini game, you can as a 1-shot, or if you play all of them, it tells you an overarching story. And in Feldbar Shoppe of Curiosities and Occult, we utilize that as a cold open. There are 2 instances in the book where, as a player, you create a throwaway character just so that you can get the exposition of the story. So, and I think that's great because, it's like, how do you make your villains villainous? How do you make them like hated? Well, here's a way for you to get a perspective of the villain without even interacting as a player. And so we can use metacognition, right? Where you make a 1-shot, you make a cold open with these characters you generate, and then you interact with the villain. The villain's kind of a jerk. That character that you've made, which is like level 2, and it gets thrown away for that scenario, gives you the player the knowledge of, yeah, this is kind of someone I don't want to be around. They're not a really nice person.
Gotcha. Okay.
That's something unique to our project that I'm very proud of, and I hope people dig.
Yeah, I like that. You see the campaign from different sides, and yeah, that sounds cool.
We want to be story focused. We want to encourage people to tell their own stories. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. If I could just make another plug too, aside from a couple of other kind of spin-off side campaigns within the greater world of the Common Lands, that is Corey's kind of Feldbar's main storyline. I've really built out this region that's called the Deep Woods. So coming associated with two kind of shorter campaigns are going to be sort of a catalog of the herbology and botany of the forest. That will kind of be associated as well with what will be really just like a sandbox opportunity in the thing. So instead of like, even the best of them, you have to kind of put some kind of rails in place to make a story happen. And sometimes your players need that. But like, I guess there's just a purist in me that was like, yeah, but like, I need to build this forest and make these beasts so that they navigate and then be in this deadly forest. So I think that's a really cool thing too. People might not necessarily care about your story, but there's a lot of cool stuff that they might want to interact with. So.
Gotcha. So
and just one more thing, I just want to say real quickly too, we understand that, not everybody's in it for the stories. I know, Bill, you mentioned Kobold Press, right? And Kobold Press, they're brilliant in their business design, which was, we're going to make supplement materials first. And then once we hit it big with supplement materials, that's when we'll start introducing some of our homebrew world content, which is Southlands, which just kind of came out. And so it's ingenious. And we're kind of backwards in that respect. We're storytelling first. But Aaron and I have conceived some great ideas for supplemental materials, one of which being expanded backgrounds. We want to write something that takes the background mechanic of D&D, expands it, and makes it a little more interesting as a mechanic within the game. So, and then he mentioned the herbology as well. So supplement material is definitely something that Common Lands Associated Media is looking toward on the horizon.
Awesome. I like that. So backgrounds you mentioned. Is there anything else that you have that might be like a supplement to the rules, like any new classes, races, anything of that sort, spells even?
I think what we've done is, instead of creating original races and classes, we've put some twists, some reflavorings on certain things. And it's funny because I was playing with D&D with my buddy Nick 2 weeks ago, and he goes, "Man, Tasha's is doing some stuff now that you've been doing for years." And I go, "Yeah, that's why Aaron's got me doing all this stuff." Aaron's like, "Dude, you need to like start telling people stuff because everybody else is just doing your ideas." One of the things is, I tell all my players all the time, like, if you have a spell and it has an elemental type, let's just reflavor it. Like, if you're doing fireball and you just want to do acid ball or ice ball, I don't particularly have a problem with you reflavoring the element. We'll use the mechanics within the spell, but we'll just reflavor it as ice, right? That's cool.
Yeah.
So you can do something simple like that. So there's a lot of stuff like that where we've reflavored things. And the dwarves in our campaign setting have a unique racial ability. When dwarves fall asleep, they turn to stone. They have a set AC, I think, of 20. The dwarves were carved from the mountains, and when they died, they return to the mountains, so they become stone. And so when they're in that, not catatonic, but like when they're turned stone, and so they're almost protected more when they sleep. It's little things like that. All of our smaller folk, like your halflings, your gnomes, your goblins, your kobolds, they've all been reclassified under one umbrella in this setting called Punic Folk. And they're all base races that we encourage players to start as. And we've also kind of generalized some of the bird related and animal related races as well. Like, I know the bird related races specifically in Feldbars are just called Crovan. Like, if you want to be an Aarakocra, you want to be a Kenku, whatever, it's Crovan. You're all under the umbrella now. So we've been doing stuff where we reflavor that. We also have a section in the book where we've play tested some house rules, and we put them in there, and it's set up like, hey, if you want to use this, use this. If you don't want to use it, don't use it. But here's some stuff we've done in play testing. We don't explicitly say play testing, but we do let you know, like, hey, here's some rules that we've used in this game, and we like them, and check them out. See if you like them.
Yeah, and also just, it's not many of them, but there is I should say, some different races or sub races that are part of the storyline of my side story campaign, but they're not. It's kind of like it's like 2 books. So the first one would really feature them, but they're I plan to release them at the same time. So all of that would basically become available, and then those are kinds of things that when they do become available, you don't necessarily even have to buy the book. You can access it in the other product areas of our website, so you can kind of customize what you're like looking for.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So it kind of
Supplement materials is on the horizon.
So it kind of seems like a Feldbar could also be beneficial to players such as myself. Like, what are some of the points you would like to tell players like me that they can take away from Feldbars?
Absolutely. So, as a teacher, we're always encouraged to differentiate our instruction. Well, what does that mean? It means we have to find ways to reach our students that take into account their multiple ways of learning. Like, some people learn better by hearing. That's definitely not me. My wife can attest to that. Some people learn better from seeing, like visual. Yeah, I think that would be most husbands. I don't know. I don't want to generalize. But some people learn better from seeing, right? I'm a kind of person where I need to use my hands. I learn best when I'm hands-on. And so this book for the players, it has that. It has a kinesthetic approach. There are puzzles that will be able to be pulled out of the book for you to give to people. Like, one of the sections has a riddle that's going to help drive the story. Well, you take it out of the book and you give it to the players, and you can photocopy it. And there's 2 sections to it. There's a copy in the book for the players, which you tear out, and then it's not, oh, I tear it out, now I don't have a copy. There's a GM copy that stays in the book that has notes for it, the person running the game. And so there's a lot of stuff like that. We wanted to create terribles, and part of our Kickstarter stretch goals was to get that perforation in our book, because we really don't want to sacrifice the integrity of the book, obviously. But we also want to provide, a kinesthetic approach to D&D that I think is really difficult for novice game masters.
Yeah, I was.
So the players can enjoy that, right?
Yeah. Yeah, there's a section in your Kickstarter that says you can even write with a pencil on the pages to take down your notes, and the perforated pages. It's something I've actually never seen before in any of like D&D books. I don't know if you've seen anything like that.
Yeah,
before.
I don't think I've really
absolutely
seen,
new that I haven't seen.
Yeah, you keep initiative right in the book or something. Yeah, typically I'm scrambling to find.
Well, the other thing is you never see that in the middle of the book. It's sometimes at the end. It's sometimes at the end of some D&D books, but it's usually a map. But yeah, I mean, I purposefully went with a matte paper so that you could write on it with pencil, because I know sometimes those D&D books are waxy, and if you were to even write on it, if you wanted to, it wouldn't come out very well. The ink would smear or something. So, if you're familiar with Kobold Press and you've purchased Tome of Beasts, it feels very akin to, like, the size of the book, the quality of the paper, the quality of the print is very akin to that Tome of Beast print, actually.
Gotcha, yeah.
Wow. Awesome.
Cool. Let's see. I was gonna ask another question. Actually, you're making it easier for people to run games. I like that you've got sort of summary of where NPCs appear and that sort of thing. Would you say it's that makes things more customizable too? If I wanted to, like, let's say, bring my, I want to adapt a few things, replace some characters, something like that. That all seems possible. Like, I can make little customizations or something to
right on. What Corey's basically done is he, like a teacher, has prepared this as if it was a course, and you have multiple means of getting the information that you want, because he put it there intentionally so that it's easy and decipherable and breakdownable for you. So yeah, all of that is I think, again, right on. That was I think one of Corey's chief goals throughout the entire year, this last year, you know.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, I always want to do this every game I run, even just little one shots. And sometimes I find that, I'm at fault for this. Like my Curse of Strahd campaign, we just murdered like one of the main characters, and the DM said, "All right, give me a couple weeks now, because I have to think of what to do." It sounds like you guys have thought of that too. I mean, you'll make it a little easier at least to deal with something like that. Is that the case? Is that something you thought of?
So Feldbar's, the GM's notes are designed to not only just to help you as a GM with like tips and advice, but it mostly tells you about the story. I mean, there are several sections in the book where it will say this character will reappear in chapter 14. And so, you know, like, okay, they're going to encounter this character. This character comes back. I need to think about that because this character is important to the story. And so we wanted to make sure that was emphasized.
Yeah, or just like a lot of the GM notes are like, hey, just remember this major plot point is also happening in the midst of you running your thing, because, you know, everyone that's run a few whatever as the DM knows, like, oh my gosh, I completely skipped this one whole thing that I was supposed to do. And so those notes are probably what would be most helpful for me. Yeah,
that sounds.
I've play tested this, and I've taken many notes from the play testings of like what happens. And I was telling Aaron this when we were shooting our podcast last week. It was really funny. Of all the play testing, he was talking about this one moment that he was struggling with in the game with this investigator. And it was funny to me because every time I play tested this, the encounter happened the exact same way, which is really unique in D&D because we all know how things can go off the rails pretty quickly. So that made me feel really good, not because it was railroady, but because, you know, the natural progression of things goes that way, you know, and it as someone who is a specialist in human behavior, you know, it allows me to, like, it's kind of like a lab, right? Like I could be like, oh, well, let's see if this gets you to, it's like when you tell someone to calm down and they don't calm down, like we can all kind of foresee that and predict that. And it's like you do that in D&D sometimes too. And that's built into the game. It's, you know, I understand the human condition with certain things. And so let's put them in a scenario where it's going to kind of force you into your human condition. And then let's play that out.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, I like that.
So I have a little bit of a fun question. Which can you guys weigh in on your favorite NPC from Feldbar's? Do you have a particular favorite?
I mean, I have a few, but I'll let them take it first because I know I've been yucking it up.
There's two that come to mind. One for me personally is one of the central characters. His name is Zamodius Blackhorn. He's just kind of this super baller bard, and my character was also a bard, so it was like just this awesome experience. And he comes in, you know, really early on in the story, just really epic. So he's a really iconic like motif in the entire story, that just kind of really gives you a nice feeling for what this is all going to be about. This isn't too much of a spoiler. He sails an awesome ship that's also an iconic motif. And then there's another character named Baker that just you know,
people love Baker.
You know, and quite frankly, I think this might have been more you know, at our table. Just
well,
Corey
I channeled
being,
my inner Michael Caine when I roleplayed him. You know,
Corey was an amazing
hey,
voice.
shish. You know, and
So-
it's like people fell in love with that because I just kind of roleplayed
Everybody
him
loved
stupid.
Baker.
Oh, wait,
Yeah.
you know, you're gonna cook up the food, Jake. Can't even lift a bloody log. Yeah, he's kind of a fan favorite, but I think that's just because I roleplayed him that way. I don't know. I would say though that there are roleplay notes for each NPC. So and I wish I could say that was an original too, but I did actually kind of borrow that from Colville's Strongholds and Followers, which was brilliant. I love that he throws in roleplay tactics like, hey, it's not just an NPC with stats. It's like they have a personality, and let's point that out too. So in the stat blocks of the NPCs, there are tactics for how to roleplay those particular characters. And why not? The player characters have that now in their character sheets with bonds, ideals, flaws, and all that, and traits. So why wouldn't the NPCs? So we've included that as well.
Absolutely. Miranda, did you have?
What about you, Miranda? Did you? Miranda drew another iconic character for our book, Gorman Mandrake.
Yeah. Yeah, he was really fun to draw. But I think my favorite, because I haven't finished reading the whole thing yet, but I have started it. So I think my favorite is actually the first character that Aaron mentioned, because I have met that character and he is really fun.
Oh, that's awesome.
He's a sticker on our Kickstarter too. So if you purchase our pin pack or our sticker pack or our one of our top tier rewards for the book and everything, Zamodius will be in there. My favorite character in the story is actually the villain. I am a huge Sir Arthur Conan Doyle fan. I love Sherlock Holmes, and the character is very Moriarty. The villain of the overarching story is very Moriarty inspired. If you have seen any of the movies or read any of the books or the TV shows or any of the multiple mediums that it's been presented on, so I mean, it's Sherlock Holmes has been around for a while, but still spoilers. You never know. Moriarty in the Robert Downey one, I think he kind of kicks off World War I, right, with the Franz Ferdinand thing. Well, it's kind of similar with Dr. Weaver in this particular story. And one of the things I wanted to do was with this villain was make him relatable. He's not wrong, and that's what makes him a great villain. Is so he comes from a place where in a previous campaign that I had not published, this land called Novum was completely destroyed. It was built on sort of Fey ancestral ground, and they channeled it. They channeled this ancestral Fey magic to power their city. It was the epicenter of any place of culture in the world, and they got a little greedy, and they channeled a little too much energy, and the city collapsed on itself. And many of the people of that land blamed the capital, right? And he was one of them. And so his frustrations are misguided, and so he feels like the capital is to blame, and so he's expended all of his resources, all of his brilliance in taking down the capital for destroying an entire city. He blames them, and I think that's relatable. It's like, okay, you know, I can see why you would feel that way. You're wrong, but I can see why you would feel that way. And so he's always in the background of the story, manipulating the pieces. And that's a big part of what I love about that character is, you know, there's a lot of pieces that are getting manipulated, very Kingpin-esque, right? And the players interact with that, and then they start to see. I think about chapter 10. It's like, oh, all of these things kind of came together. Cool.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. The best villains tend to have a point, right? Something that's relatable.
He's not a mustache twirler like me, you know. He's not gonna like tie you up on the train tracks.
So earlier,
I also drew from him. Well, I want to add one more thing because I just remembered this. So the character is also inspired by one of my top 3 favorite comic book characters of all time, Dr. Doom. One of the things I love about Dr. Doom is Dr. Doom is the second best at everything. Well, that's Doctor Strange, which is funny because Dr. Doom is the second best sorcerer. He's the second best armor next to Iron Man. He's the second smartest man in the Marvel Universe next to Reed Richards. And let's be honest, he's probably the second best country, America. Okay, so he's just used to being a number 2 in everything. And he's so narcissistic. He's so narcissistic that even though he's like at the top echelon of all these things, that's not enough. That's not enough for him. He can't just be number 2. And that's what I love about this villain. Is it's just like, dude, just appreciate what you have. And it's like, no, I can't. I gotta be number 1 at something. And so that was really channeled into this character and how he was conceived.
I like that. Doom would approve, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Doom approves. Doom abides.
So we were talking earlier about how the pandemic has switched gears for a lot of us players, right? So a lot of us have switched from meeting face-to-face with a lot of our friends or fellow players to game, and now we have switched into that virtual I know Miranda has like a split 50-50, like, like physical and virtual game going on. What do you think will be the biggest hurdle for Commonlands if this continues on? Like, would that be something that would be a hurdle for your company, or is this something that's going to be beneficial?
I think. Oh, sorry. I think that based off of our early data, we've seen that our digital copy of Feldbars is selling better than our hard copy. So I think that that would suggest that just kind of this cyberspace that we're all, more familiar with, that even the screen that we're all looking with is now familiar as opposed to a year ago at this time. So I do think that, just in doubt, whatever industry you're into, you should always kind of lean into digital. And that's definitely a big thing that we've been conscientious of or targeting as we move forward. So both with the book itself, it's always, everything that we do is always going to have a digital component. And like, again, those maps that Corey has, I mean, one of the things that you can do is like, yeah, you can draw those out, but like you can also, and one of the things we want to do, but they're not available yet, they're also files that you can just blow up and use digitally. You know what I mean? And again, even if they're that, not, holy cow, Dungeons and Dragons official artwork, it's, it's relatable, it's easy, you can blow it up and use it. And so I think that
Functionality.
that's becoming so normal these days. And even within our own table, we all kind of religiously showed up every single week and did our ritual around the table together. And we've still kind of seen each other, but that's absolutely been disrupted for us too,
Yeah.
But otherwise, is everyone like enjoying the virtual play with everybody else, or is this? I feel like I'm a little bit more comfortable with the virtual now, just because there's a lot more possibilities as with time. But I
What
also
are you using? Just curious.
Zoom.
What are you
so
using, Monica?
my campaign, we've been using Discord, which isn't always the best. But I know that we do Streamlabs in tandem with Discord so that we can export it to Twitch.
Okay.
So we
Have
have
you
that.
using Roll20?
We do actually
sometimes.
also include that in. So we have about 3 screens going when we're playing every Monday,
Yeah.
which it's not that bad. Like in the beginning, it was kind of a bit of a hurdle because you kind of like have to switch screens every time. But we've
Yeah.
gotten the hang of it. Like we've been playing for like what, like a couple of months
Yeah,
now.
a few months.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just started a campaign in October, I believe.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Is it a module official content, or is it homebrew?
homebrew.
Homebrew. Cool.
Yeah.
Miranda, are you using Roll20, or are you using just kind of through Zoom or something like that?
Well, we're just using Discord, but so we have, my siblings and I are very tech savvy, so we have the benefit of being half in person and not. So we actually have like a map that we set out, and then we have like 3 cameras set up, and we Skype people in, and so
Cool.
it's not any Roll20 stuff, but
That's
Yeah.
cool. I actually kind of like that. Like Bill has done that several times with his campaigns where he has the camera on the map and then the camera on him.
We're invested in a lot of Dwarven Forge
yeah, we have a
miniatures. We better
we have
use
a
it.
lot. Yeah, we gotta use it some way.
What's the replayability on that too? Like I've always, it's kind of what drew me away from it. Is I'm like, yeah, this is cool, but I'm wondering if how much I can use this.
That's
How
kind
you
of
guys
like
find it?
one of the things that I miss with the physical games, because when we would have people over to play, I would always have a banquet in here. I would always cook food because I love cooking for people. And then we'll have everything set up downstairs, and then it's, like you grab food upstairs, just bring it down, and then just eat while we're gaming.
Yeah.
Really casual stuff. You already know we're very social people, so this was kind of a
Yeah.
bit of weird time for us, but at the same time we were able to adapt by like playing with a lot of different campaigns like online.
Let's play online more. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a lot like music, though. You know, when I was playing guitar, I found that the way you get better faster is when you play with strangers. I feel like I grow the most as a player and a game master when I go to conventions because I'm at a table with strangers. And
Yep.
so not only do I have to adapt to the social etiquette of the strangers I'm around, but I'm also seeing how different game masters tell their stories, different strategies they use. And I take those and I put them in my pocket and I'm like, okay, cool. I like that. I don't like that. I like that. I'll put it there and I'll use that for my players. And when you play through these digital mediums, I have to imagine that your abilities are getting so much better, so much quicker because you have so many more resources.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Yeah.
You know,
So
I played through Roll20. I love it, but I still prefer paper pencil.
yeah, it's just a different feel to it. Like I still take down notes with pen and paper. Some of our players take notes through Google Docs. I prefer writing them down.
Yeah, some people are intimidated getting to Roll20, and there's a learning curve. So I put together an article about if you want a game online, just get a camera, do it.
Yeah,
Use
just
paper and
do it
pencil,
and try.
and just have a camera there. Put
Oh.
one up for the map.
Well, that's something we're thinking about too. Aaron and I have discussed possibly creating a Twitch that we're running the game for people. So this is something that is on the horizon for us.
Yeah.
So
Well,
we're
let us
looking
know.
into right now the Twitch world. Yeah, absolutely.
I do have a question with regards to product availability. When the Kickstarter becomes successful, would it be available in Roll20 and like all of these other types of stores or online websites?
Drive-through, right?
Drive-through.
I love drive-through. Yeah, so well, just for all you young publishers out there who are trying to learn the ropes, I had to do a lot of sifting through a lot of material for this process, and a lot of reading. And so, because it doesn't necessarily cater to D&D, it just kind of caters to publishing overall. But with D&D, two things. First of all, there's a open gaming license, and you can download these specific rules that you can look at to make sure that you're not violating Dungeons and Dragons copyright. However, if you want to violate Dungeons and Dragons copyright and still make a buck, by all means, go on DM's Guild or GM's Guild. I can't remember which one they call it. They allow you to use any Dungeons and Dragons content. You can make your book look exactly like a D&D module if you like, and you can sell it on there, but you do not own the rights to your book. So that was why we decided to go this avenue. We're doing something original. And, at the end of the day, we decided, okay, well, you know what? If we don't have a beholder in our campaign, it's not the end of the world. We can live without, some of the icons of the realm, and we can still tell a really great story. So that process is difficult. And that process you can find online again through the OGL. And so I think drive-through is kind of the same thing like GM's Guild, right? DM's Guild, where you can post your stuff online for people to sort of buy, right? Like, but it's explicitly for tabletop gaming. Is that correct?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
They have a fiction
Yep.
section.
Yeah.
Too.
So I mean, we'll have to look into that. I don't know what the rights are for that, but the book is going to be available on Amazon. It's going to be available through Borders. We are going to be traveling to local game stores to promote it. And another aspect that makes our company unique related to our project is that Aaron and I are both teachers. And so we are very much in the community of teachers, especially with social emotional learning. I have some connections at teaching conventions where I really, really want to help, teachers who are helping individuals with social emotional needs understand how role-playing can benefit your classroom and your students. So our story is chock full of things like that, some kind of tough emotional stuff to tackle. And we plan on, when the conventions open up, that's a huge deal to us. That's something we're planning for right now as well. We were going to do C2E2. I know they have professional development. I have some friends who work there that I was hoping to do a panel for. The ICC, the Illinois Council for Exceptional Children, I'm on the board for that planning committee that has over 1,500 teachers in the state come to attend. So I was going to do a presentation through there of the benefits of social emotional learning through role-playing. And obviously we'd love, my dream is to be selling at Gen Con, one day. That would be the pinnacle for me. But you know, we're going to push it through all the outlets we can digitally. But most importantly, and Aaron kind of attests to this, it'll be available on our website. So if you want to buy it, it's, you know, you're more than welcome to go on our website, and then we'll have bargain bins with, you know, the people who play in our campaign, in our world, will be writing stories in our world. And so we view it like a quilt, right? Like a lot of D&D writers are like, this is my world, you play in my world, but that's not kind of the approach we're taking. The approach we're taking is we want to build a community. And so we've created sort of the layout, which is the world, but we want your stories, and we want to kind of almost create our own little like GM's Guild where you're telling stories in the setting. And the players that I'm playing with are able to do that. So my buddy Mike will be, he's in the process of publishing some shorter content to run. Aaron's processing a ton of content to run. And, you know, I would even extend it to you, Miranda, if you want to, or you, Bill and Monica. You know, it's because we know each other, and obviously you have the literature, Miranda, and it's like, if you got a story to tell, let's stitch it into the quilt. There's a lot of space in here to put story. There's a lot of space to put story in that world. So, you know, we want to treat it like a quilt, and we want to celebrate everybody's contributions. So that's a big deal to us. And you can find that kind of stuff through our website.
And every time you do stop by in our our products page, if you're looking at you can see our modules button. You can also see where there's free content as well. So if you're stopping by to
amazing.
You know, make a purchase, you can also take a look at the free content as that becomes more and more available.
Wow.
And again, I'm going to be putting out a one-shot very shortly. I'm just adding the last touches on the stat blocks for the NPCs. But yeah, once I'm done with that, I'm thinking tomorrow, definitely before Wednesday, what is that, the 24th, 23rd? It'll be up, and I'll be promoting that. And I encourage you to sit down and run the game. I've already play tested it with 2 different groups, and both of them have told me that they really enjoy it. So I said, you know what, let's share it. I want people to see how it works. I want people to be able to play it, and I want the feedback. I mean, it's so huge, you guys. I mean, that's part of the trouble too, is you're telling a story, you're writing a story, and it's not just that you wrote this story and here it is. It's, you know, you need people to tell you like, hey man, this doesn't work, or hey man, this was really great, and that helps you make a better product. So it's not just a quilt of a world where we share stories. It really is a community project. It takes help from so many people. It's tough, and so we're really blessed, all of us, to have just the great support that we've had make something so cool happen. So we're just enjoying the ride.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Cool. Do you have any other questions?
Well, I think that's all for our questions. Is there anything you would like to add in the Kickstarter that we haven't tackled yet?
So we have 47 backers. I've looked at several different projects, and I will say, while we haven't exceeded our funding goal, we have several more backers than, you know, projects that are similar to what we're doing. Obviously, this is our first Kickstarter, and we've experienced some growing pains just from the Kickstarter process. I drove home from Virginia. I probably watched
Oh my gosh.
the whole drive home, the whole 12 hours of just like how to do Kickstarter. And, you know, I learned a lot. And so I'm actually really looking forward to doing the process again because of all these things I'm learning. So I'm just trying to soak it in and have fun with it. And the 2 things that I would say as a takeaway are, 1, just thank you to everybody who, even if you didn't pledge, just took the time to see what we're doing and just give us that appreciation and love. That means so much to us because everybody's put in so much work and heart and soul into this project that the support means everything to us. And then the second thing is that because we have so many backers and our project is essentially done, we are able to provide our product to all of our supporters who have pledged regardless. So one of the things Aaron and I discussed was just buying out the Kickstarter so that we're not leaving anyone high and dry who is really excited about this project. So obviously we want to hit our mark. And more importantly, we really wanted to get to those stretch goals because those are some things that are kind of costly and can really make this project significantly better. But
and also, you know, this project itself is ultimately essentially done and available for people who have already purchased it. But also those stretch goals are going to help us really expand in a lot of those other areas we were talking about. You know, what's next for Common Lands after just this one book of Feldbar's? We have so much more to offer you, and you know, meeting our goal, exceeding our goal by a significant percentage, will also allow us to start like dipping into selling 3D print minis, files.
Yeah, that's
you know what I mean? And
something
things
we want
like
to get
that.
into as well. Yeah.
So,
More about
but again, I mean,
your service. Yep, definitely.
yeah.
Yeah. And then, you know, I think that with this next book project that I'm coming up with, I'm really excited because I'm hoping to have Miranda do more of the character design and illustrations for it because, yeah, I think that brand continuity is really important, and I really love her style, and I think it adds something special to our projects.
Yeah,
So,
and don't forget
you
to
know,
let us know about it again.
the immortal gate is in process. I listen. I've been playtesting this with 2 groups this campaign right now, and I can't finish it. It's just COVID is crushing me, and every time we get some traction, it's like spikes, and everyone's like, "All right, I'm not meeting up." So it's you know, it's the nature of the world right now. We all kind of get it, but
Slow and steady goes the race, though. I'm sure it will be amazing once it's completed. Just as Feldbar's shop is amazing, from what we can see already. I think you're going to bring a lot of like really good new things into the market as well. That a lot of this we haven't seen before in anything else that we have encountered, even when we're at Gen Con and stuff. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you guys know we've walked down those halls together. Like, I've looked in those books. I've been playing D&D for a long time. I know those things that I want to see in there. So I bring that perspective. Yeah, I love it. I love that this whole experience has just been so much fun, and that's one of the takeaways. Aaron and I, we sat down the other day and talked about is, you know, no matter what happens, we're in a pandemic, but yet we're doing something that's still kind of cool. And, you know, this is one of those things you're going to look back on in life and you're going to say, man, well, at least I gave that a shot and I gave it a go. Yep. And hopefully it's a thing you get to do for a long, long time. And that's our goal, is to keep doing what we're doing for a very long time.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
Yep.
Cool.
Okay. Well, shamelessly plug all of your social media and where do we find all of your stuff.
I will let Miranda go first, since she has some really great artwork to share.
Yeah, I'm on Instagram at Miracosm Art, MIRA, Miracosm, like Paracosm Art. That's pretty much the only place that I'm at. Other than that, I make graphic novels. So if you check out my Instagram, you can find the link to those.
Awesome. And we're gonna include the links on the description as well.
Oh, cool. Okay.
It will be easy for people to find. Yep. And do you have any projects outside of Feldbars that you would like to promote as well, or?
Oh, sure. Yeah, I'm working on a 3rd issue of a graphic novel series about zombies, about the zombie apocalypse right now. It's called Decay. So the first 2 are available soon on Amazon, but currently on Blurb.
That's awesome.
Cool.
I gotta look for that.
All right. Yeah.
That's
Aaron?
awesome.
You guys can all access Common Lands on Facebook at The Common Lands, Twitter at The Common Lands, and Instagram at The Common Lands.
Perfect.
I would also like to mention that, you know, one of the things that I had a background in high school of film editing that I did a little bit in college as well. So I'm revisiting the joys of film editing. And I got to say, it's been pretty fun. I say that it sounds condescending, but it's actually quite sincere. I'm legitimately enjoying it to the point where I probably need to be doing something else with my time. But we're working on a podcast, and I'm finding the joys in podcasting. And one of the things I just really want to plug is, you know, if you're somebody who enjoys storytelling, not even tabletop role-playing games, if you're just someone who enjoys storytelling, the podcast that Aaron and I and all of our friends involved in Dungeons and Dragons with us are trying to produce is going to help you. And then, you know, one of the focuses we have through this podcast is looking at the behavioral side of things, not just the mechanics. It's not like 15 feats that are really super cool. It's like, you know, what differentiates us from a lot of other channels is you know, you see on the Dungeons and Dragons pages, subreddits, Facebook groups, like people be like, my player did XYZ. How do I manage it? And, you know, we did a video recently about setting expectations, you know, and how that like relates, how you do that in a classroom, how you do that at a gaming table, how you do that for your kids, you know, like your own kids, like how you do that with your friends and family. And so we really tackle not just storytelling, but, you know, kind of D&D behavioral skills as well. So I can't stress enough how much I'm actually enjoying that process. And if you remember pop-up videos from the late 90s, early 2000s, I have stylized them to sort of have that kind of component. So there's a lot of fun little goofy pop-ups to make it a little more engaging.
And if
Okay.
we're just a
That
few
is-
more subscribers away from being able to customize our URL for that channel, so that'd be great if
Awesome.
we can get some more subscribers. Yeah.
Where
we're
where are
definitely
you guys streaming your podcast in?
right now we're on YouTube. We're going to switch to Twitch very soon as the new year comes and my schedule opens up and this project is done. We're going to start promoting on Twitch. Right now we're on YouTube. It's Common Lands Associated Media, and that's really our main source of providing video content for people.
Amazing. Well, guys, thank you so much. We learned a lot about Feldbar, Shoppe of Curiosities and Occult. And good luck, you guys. I know you guys can do it. For 14 days away as of today, December 20th. And just to clarify to people when they see this. But yeah, I can't thank you guys enough for your time. And thank you for chatting with us about Common Lands and Feldbars.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
All right.
All right. I'm Monica,
I'm Bill.
and we're from Geeks A Gogo. Thanks for watching, everyone.
All right. And I'll stop recording.